Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast brought to you by Quantum 5, the first ever sustainable training tech in automotive. A big thank you to our sponsors, Fixed Ops Marketing, Traver Connect, Parts Edge, and Dynatron Software. Companies leading the way to increasing your profits. Reach out to them today. Our guest, not in the automotive sector, but definitely with some leadership advice. Dan Carroll, Regional President of Performance Food Service. Let's get into this one. You're going to love it. Welcome back, everybody, to the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. We're excited to have with us today Dan Carroll, Regional President of Performance Food Service. Dan, thank you for being with us today.
Dave, glad to be here.
Absolutely. And I know the title of the podcast says Fixed Ops Mastermind, so that's service for anybody who doesn't know service parts and body shops inside dealerships. But really, this is a podcast about leadership, leaders, coaches, of which you are all of the above. To give everybody a little overview of who Dan Carroll is.
Yeah, well, good morning, everyone, and happy to be here. I am a region president for a terrific food service company, and our primary role and responsibility in the industry is to distribute products. So we receive them in truckloads and we distribute them by the case to our operators in the field. And I've been doing this work for over 35 years, and I'm fortunate enough to lead a team of very, very strong regional presidents and teams that work locally in the market to service the customer's needs.
Excellent. And we were talking offline a little bit about supply chain issues, and everybody is having supply chain issues. And obviously in the automotive market, people are waiting for their cars to get fixed as they wait for parts to come. But you are facing that in your business. And we were talking about how it's a little more time sensitive with you.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think, the last couple of years have really fractured the supply chain across probably every industry that we're in. Excuse me. But if you look at food service, to your point, a lot of our products are perishable. And although the perishability of the product is not at risk, because when we do get the product, it's coming, in the proper state, in the wholesome state. The problem is, can you get it when you need it for the restaurateur to be able to put it on their menu? That's really where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah. And so obviously over these last couple of years, as things have changed in a lot of industries, what are some of the things that some different things that you've had to face as a leader to help your team overcome?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. The real challenge for our industry over the last couple of years has certainly been labor, right? The fact that with COVID, so many of our associates have been impacted by it. They might be out for a week or 2 weeks, and fortunately coming back. But, when they're gone, somebody has to pick up, that labor challenge that you had. Secondly, that supply chain that you and I were just talking about, it is critical because in our industry, our customers are used to receiving, let's say 99.4 or 99.5% of the order as they place it. And all of a sudden, when the supply chain coming into the distributor is in the 60% or the 70%, it's a big change for our end user customer who's counting on getting that product, right? So that puts a lot of strain on the internal resources of the company, like our procurement team, our logistics teams. And then additionally, it really is the fact that our leadership team has had to deal with so many, issues with our personnel, meaning out sick, right? What do we do to protect them? Maybe our sales team in the field not being able to be face-to-face with our customers, either because the customers were on maybe reduced hours or potentially closed, right? Or an associate that might be concerned, right, about contracting, COVID. And obviously we support them 100%. So all of a sudden, the stresses on the leadership team were completely different than what they were used to dealing with. And I'm happy to say, a couple of years into it, not only has our team done a terrific job, but there's been a tremendous amount of growth, a lot of learnings. And my favorite comment in this area is always, if the answer to the question isn't people, then you're just asking the wrong question, right? Right. So we've been blessed with great leaders, and they have pulled us and our customers through this time period.
It's excellent. And I think that's a great point about the answer being people. It pretty much always is. We say in the service side of the dealership business that that's what we're in. We're in the customer service. We're in the people business. They just happen to bring a car in with them, right? It could be anything that they're bringing in. And so on the people side of things, how have you seen some of your team members step up in ways that maybe either weren't expected of them or you just didn't think that they could even do in these times? Because obviously you talked about staffing shortages and people have been asked to do things that they've never had to do before. And it's amazing to me always that how resilient most team members are to step up and meet that challenge when they have to.
Yeah, you are so right. I think the term leading from the front has probably never been more appropriate, right? So in a strong organization, in an operation that has a full staff and all the different department heads, no one was immune to COVID, right? No department was excluded and didn't need to participate, right? Everybody had a challenge, and for the individual leaders of each department or for the operating company president, they really needed to get out in front and lead their team, sometimes relying back on the skills that they've always had, and sometimes just introducing new skills, right? So communication clearly was the number one area that our people got even stronger. I think our team was strong, but touching all of the associates on a more frequent basis to inform and alert and to share the vision of where we were going, and then helping them to connect the dot, right? So what is their role in what we're trying to achieve? And in this changing time, what should they expect, right? And that was the area, I think, more than almost anything, that our leaders did such a terrific job. And that was in that step up of communication and touching the associates.
Yeah, so I want to pull something out of what you just said, which is, do you feel that organizations have now become either better or more cognizant of actually painting a vision for their teams of what the organization is trying to accomplish, right? Rather than just we're just going through the day-to-day doldrums of getting cars fixed or getting lettuce to where it needs to go, right? There's still an overall vision of what the company is trying to accomplish and what each person within that, under that umbrella vision, what each person has as their part of it. Do you think that's something that's more concentrated on now?
I would say for sure. Certainly in our company, I think, helping associates recalibrate a little bit, right? So when you're used to supplying such a very high service level, and if you think about our industry, a little different from yours, is someone can place an order, let's say at 5:00 at night, and expect to receive that product the following morning, let's say by 9:00. Right? Very different. And in an industry that has traditionally done a terrific job of that, you might imagine the strain and the stress that was on the associates that weren't able to complete that through no fault of their own, right? But we really needed to help recalibrate the expectations all the way down to the customer level. So customers that at one time might have really considered you to be a poor supplier if you were under 99% accuracy and fill rate, all of a sudden we're like, okay, you don't have that product anymore. What can you help me with, right? So the value proposition for the company continued to evolve. And that communication to the associates, setting the level of expectation, helping them to identify what winning looks like in this new world was a very big challenge and a big part of the leadership accomplishment.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Redefining what winning looks like in this new economy that we're facing, because there is a lot there's a lot that was still the same, but there was a lot of things that changed. What were there technology things that came into play in your industry that changed over the last couple of years?
Technology has played an important role, I think, always in the evolution of our business. Our value prop and our go-to-market strategy has always been having a very strong, trained, professional sales team in the field, bringing the solutions to the end user customer, helping the customer to be more successful by sharing insights maybe that we've picked up as an industry or as a company that maybe our operator hadn't even known that they were struggling with yet. And our people could step in and say, listen, here's some of the challenges that we're seeing, and we've got solutions for that. Let's work together to make it better at our business.
Yeah, because obviously you guys are seeing things on a much broader scale, right? Than the individual restaurant, cafe, place that you're supplying. You're seeing things across the country that may be something happening in Oregon that could have an effect on somebody in Massachusetts, and the person in Massachusetts has no idea that it even exists yet.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And technology, again, we've always been strong on technology. There's lots of ways for our customers to place their orders right through technology, but especially during the last couple of years, I don't think our sales associates have ever been more important to our end user customers than they have been in the past. Excuse me. And what I mean by that is they can still place their orders online. That's certainly not a problem. But when things are changing so fast on the supply chain side, that isn't going to be sufficient to help an operator know what's next. And when you've got a professional sales, a person in the field working directly with the customer, all of a sudden that comfort can be instilled, right? Mr. Customer, you're right. We don't have that right now. The industry isn't producing it, or we cannot receive it right now. But here are a variety of alternatives that we believe will work for you, right? And you can't get that often just through technology. You get it through strong customer service and often that direct interaction.
Yeah, that is an excellent point, and that is certainly somewhere where a lot of our industries intersect. Certainly from your industry and my industry, that professional salesperson in automotive is the service advisor who is there to help the customer, help them understand what's going on. If a part isn't available, what are their options? And yes, there are many options for a customer to almost entirely do their service online, from making their appointment to paying their bill. They have kiosks that they can leave the keys outside that they can retrieve with a code and never have to talk to a person. But you're right. In these changing times, it's even more important. And no matter how much technology is out there, it's even more important that there is a human being involved, and that human being does have skills that were trained and taught and continually evaluated and worked on, so that they can help their clients through these things.
Yeah, especially at the beginning when, there were so many unknowns. None of us really knew what to expect. When it was really taboo, if you will, to be face-to-face with people at the beginning, right? We were constantly engaged as a company, excuse me, in training, right? We've always been strong in training, but we took time to make sure all of our people were constantly engaged in training, sometimes as many as 2, 3, 4 times a week. And the reason for that was not only was it an opportunity to advance our training platform with our team, but also we wanted to make sure we kept everybody sharp, right? Everybody thinking about the business and making sure that they were still engaged in solutions and they understood the proposition. Right? All of those things became critically important. And I think we did a super job of engaging our folks in that way. And really helping our people really achieve their best potential. I think any lead today, what you really want, from and for your folks is that they achieve their full potential. Because back to that earlier comment about it's all about people. If you have really strong folks and they achieve their full potential, your business, your company, your team is going to thrive, right? I long ago gave up on focusing solely on the subject matter expert. Because what I realized was, yes, they have to have the skills, the experience, and the ability. And beyond that, the two things I think they really, one is capacity. And that never became more true than during this time period. How many balls were up in the air.
Yeah.
And the second thing was understanding the people, excuse me, and being able to not only help your folks through, right, but while they're going through, helping them realize what their role is in actually working our way out of it. And those skills really became, front and center for our leadership team as we went through this.
Yeah, that's a great point. It honestly doesn't matter how many skills you have, right? If you don't have the capacity to handle what's coming at you. So what were some of the things that you found you had to do to help your leaders through this time? There were plenty of people out there who were really great at their role and were asked to take on other roles. There were people who were already working at a pretty high level. But this new scenario, if you will, that came at us challenged a lot of people, and some people's brains don't work that way, right? Where they're excellent, they have the task, and they will do that task 1,000% correct every single time. But ask them to kind of walk to the right a little bit and think a little differently, and it doesn't always work. So how did you help them navigate those times?
Yeah, I think first of all, going in, I think we were in a good place, meaning, the leadership team recognized the value of people and the value of diversity on their team. And I think where we got even better was recognizing that, listen, all the answers didn't have to come from one president, right? They have a team of people that all were, very bright, willing, aggressive, and really focused on doing the right thing in terms of getting the company and the associates and through this. So relying on that big piece. I think the second piece was in my region, for example, there are 11 presidents, and having at the beginning daily calls with 11 of them, having them talk to each other about, hey, here's what we're experiencing, here's some solutions we have found. That collaboration really became key, in my opinion, for maybe some of the junior leaders. And actually, none of the leaders ever used it, but our junior leaders had the ability to get the wisdom from some of our senior leaders. And I think it helped not only calm the situation, but show them a path forward.
Yeah, excellent. And in having those, there were probably times when the junior leaders came up with something that the senior leaders didn't, right? That helped the situation.
Exactly.
At the time when we think we know all the answers is the time for us to move on from whatever we're doing. Because
amen.
That's I certainly feel that through this situation, there have been a lot of people who have stepped up into situations that they never would have been expected to handle before. And again, going back to something you said earlier, that people are the answer. Now, I'm sure you have the same issue in your business that every other business is having, that people are harder to find that want to actually come to work and do the work every day. What are the types of things that you're doing to try and not only keep the people that you have, but also attract new people into your industry?
Yeah, great question, Dave. I think we struggle in a variety of areas today in terms of finding enough. And I'm going to pause for just a second to say our team has continued to grow through the pandemic. So we have been able to grow our market share, grow our customer count. Well, that just at certain times you're like, of course, that's the best thing in the world until you don't have enough drivers or enough customer service people, right? All of a sudden, that challenge is compounded a little bit. And where we've really spent our time and energy has been coaching and the training of our middle management team in particular, to make sure that they are staying close to the associates that are coming. Because every single associate that's doing is really critical to our long-term success. And you don't want the turnover that has become pretty prevalent during that time period. And oftentimes, that's the relationship between the middle manager and our line associate, making sure that we're doing the right coaching, making sure that you're available for them when they have it can be, if you've never been in the business, it can be a very tough industry to break into on that side. And so sometimes you've got to have someone that, again, back to those skills, can spot someone who's struggling, understands and is coached well on how to get with the associate and help them through.
That's awesome, and I think that is such an important aspect of a customer, a company that is in the long term successful. Right, is the ability to be able to take people from entry level to senior leadership, all within the company, right? Not just hiring outside for your senior leadership, but actually bringing them up from the rank and file into the senior leadership positions. And you're absolutely right. In the dealership world, that would be the service managers dealing with service advisors and technicians. And it's the same thing for us, right? The attrition that happens is usually from the lower side of the business, right? It's the people who haven't been with the business very long. And it's usually because they don't feel cared about. And unfortunately, they don't feel that way because the people just above them were never taught how to properly manage people. They weren't taught the skills, and that's at Quantum 5. That's what we're not looking to teach people new processes. People have the process that they have in their business. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we can help you find a process that works. But what we're looking to do is teach skills to people, both management and advisor level people, so that they can take care of people, right? The advisors are taking care of the customers, and the managers are taking care of the internal customers.
Yeah, that is so right on. I think, when you look at what everyone was faced with at the beginning of the pandemic, sorry, the challenge was with people being out with unknown circumstances that people were facing. Many of our leaders had literally no choice to dig very deep into the day-to-day work. Well, when you're thinking about the future, you need your leaders to be able to spend at least a certain amount of time planning the future, right? Looking ahead a little bit to say, how are we going to work our way through this? And when it was all hands on deck, that was hard for people to do.
Right.
And so, helping the leaders, and there's another term that I use pretty frequently, and that is that it is okay to force people to be more successful, as long as they win also. And sometimes that's what
I like that. I think that I think that's something that probably, if said incorrectly, can be taken the wrong way. But sometimes people need that little push, right? It's what they need to get going.
Well, and as long as we both win, meaning the associate wins as well, then I think that's exactly where you need to be, because sometimes getting out of your comfort zone can be very, very difficult.
Yes. I can certainly attest to that. And your friend and mine, Dave O'Brien, would certainly tell you that that I am a person who is difficult to come out of his comfort zone. So I get that. And I was lucky in my life to have people who maybe gently nudged me to do things that helped me in my career. One of the things we talked about was that you're a mentor. What are some of the things that you try to impart on the people that you're working with, that you're helping to help them get that little extra that they need to be successful?
Yeah, I think if there's anything that I bring to it's really understanding what the interaction between you as a leader and your associates is. So many young leaders in particular, they think it can be a sign of weakness to show some kind of softness in their leadership style. And again, that couldn't be further from the truth. What people want to see at work is certainly someone who has command of the business, can paint that vision, is willing to invest in that, is humble, willing to go the extra mile without an expectation of something in return.
Yes.
Right. And that's the area that I can help, our people the most. And that is that, how do I lead? At the end of the day, what are the important formats? What do I look for? How do I take a pause before I answer? So many people, are asked for solving a problem, and they do know how to solve it. But if they would pause for just a minute, they might think of several other ways that might be a better way to solve it. Right? And so helping people to use the collective team to get them there versus feel that they have to be the one.
Yeah, I think one of the big things you said in there was helping people with no expectation, and that's something that I think not completely, but got lost a little bit over the last couple of generations. Right, there were always the elders, if you will, who were willing to help the young people coming up, and it kind of became more of a me world. Right, where this was, I can help you, but what am I getting out of it? And whether that was I could put on social media that I was helping this person, or whatever it was, and to find people in businesses now that just genuinely want to help somebody succeed, just to see them succeed, and don't have a fear of them overtaking them in the business that they're helping them in and things. Is an incredible trait to have, and something that we need more of in every business.
Yeah, again, at the end of the day, right, we all been through others. And if you can, again, go back to the very first thing I said, if the answer to the question, then it's just the wrong question. Because the more we surround ourselves with diversity, with more and more talent, with more and more insight into the future, with different ways to attack problems, the better all of us are going to be. As I tell my team all the time, we need to move fast. We need to move as fast as prudently possible.
Excellent. All right, Dan, this has been a great conversation. We took us back full circle there. I think this is a good place to step off. I greatly appreciate you taking some time to help us and to help some people in the automotive industry learn a little bit more about the food business, but also more importantly about leadership and how to elevate their team some more. Thank you very much for being with us.
Dave, thanks for having me on, and continued success there.
Thank you very much.